So I had this amazing PowerPoint of 100 slides. But I guess you're glad now that there's no slides from me. But to be totally honest, yesterday, hearing the presentations and through this morning, it sort of dawned on me that there's a lot of thoughts that have been going around. And so as opposed to share what I had previously prepared, I'm not going to do that. Because I realize those points have already been made. And they've been made very well by people in the trenches doing international research and also ensuring that undergraduates and graduates have these international research experiences. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my timer. So I'm going to be at least, at the most 10 minutes, probably less. But I'm going to have us focus during my presentation of what our focus is for this portion about the organizational focus. And sort of touch on each of those themes and give some thoughts or what I felt in reflection on those themes. And so theme A is, what are the key professional learning and benefits of early research abroad? And here I'm going to spend a bit more time because I have anecdotal evidence of why I think early research abroad is amazing. So in 2002, I applied to go to Thailand for the summer, and I was like, that sounds cool. I've had Thai food before. But beyond that, I had no idea what to expect. The longest flight of my entire life. I got out of the plane, and I've never been that hot in my life. Granted, I spent my summers in South Carolina on the farm. So I thought I knew what humidity was. Then you get off the plane in Bangkok, Thailand, and it was midnight. It was the hottest experience of my life. And that decision and the opportunity they afforded me changed my life. I had the opportunity to do research in protein crystallization, something before then I really had no experience in. But it gave me an opportunity to see how research is done around the world. That research really is a global effort. It's not just something that's done in certain prestigious labs in certain East Coast and West Coast cities, but it's actually done around the world. And this share and throughput of information. And while there, investigators from around the world decided to take their holidays in Thailand at the same time. And that was beneficial to me as an undergraduate student. Because when they came, I asked them questions. And I said, your presentation sounded amazing. I really don't like organic chemistry, but I'd love to do my PhD at your institution. And little questions like that open doors that you would never expect. So that kind of leads into the next thing. What are opportunities organizations that best prepare students for authentic international research? When we think about underrepresented minority students, Native American students, Hispanic and Latino students, sometimes we're not giving these students the credit they already deserve. By the fact that they're in a research lab, already shows they have a pioneering spirit. If we look at statistics, we probably would expect them to be there. So let's give them that credit already. These folks have worked hard to get where they are, and they can be successful. So when we're mentoring, it needs to be a bit more individualized into what motivates this student. Because clearly this student has been successful if they're in our lab. This student has been successful if they're in our LSAMP program. So it's our job as mentors and organizations, how can we continue to nourish this student for success? And I think this comes down to one of the major things is the identity of each student. We all have different identities. And I think there was something amazing earlier today. One of the speakers came up and said, I introduce myself this way. And across this past day and a half, I've seen how everyone has gone about introducing themselves. And it's really interesting. See, it's interesting, the sociological experiment to say, who are you? What are you doing here? And that's the same question we're asking students when they start an international experience abroad. How do you identify yourself? Do you just say, hola, me llamo Roberto, yo soy de Kentucky? Or are you saying, hi, I'm a chemist, and my focus is this? What's our identity, and how do we draw from that identity when we're in the new experience? And this is incredibly important because, as was mentioned, after about 2 weeks, the shock settles in, and everything isn't amazing. And we need to ensure that we provide students with the skill sets to overcome that. And when I say skill sets, I don't mean that we need to have extra parent mentoring or helicopter mentoring. Because at some point, the student needs to be able to take on those problems on their own. But we need to provide them with the skill set so when that problem shows up, they can handle it. So in an anecdotal way, I don't have data, unfortunately, to say this works for everybody. But in my situation, what worked for me is always trying to find a community where I felt comfortable in. So whether it was in Thailand, in Peru, or in England, I found individuals who shared things that I enjoyed doing. So when things got difficult, I would go to those places. And so when the lab wasn't working quite right, the experiments weren't happening, I had a place to go. And I think that's really important as organizations and as mentors, that the students are aware. They need to know themselves. They need to know who they are before they go out into the wide world. And I think this is extremely important for underrepresented minorities and Native Americans. You must know yourself before you go outside and do more. The last two questions, the C, I think we've touched on the identity already. D, how can organizations best engage culturally displaced people? This is critically important. I don't have an answer for it, but I think it's something we need to consider. I know in the US we're talking a lot about ensuring underrepresented minorities are participating in biomedical research. But also, since this is an international meeting, an international conference, how are some of our partner nations going about this? So I heard Roberto talk about Brazil, but I didn't hear about minority populations in Brazil. In France, how are we ensuring that populations that are from Northern African descent are part of biomedical research? In Erasmus, how are we ensuring that individuals who might not be in the higher level of socioeconomic status are taking part in these mobility opportunities? Because if we want our society to reflect the diversity in our science, we need to ensure that all of society is involved in it. So these are important questions. I have no answers to it, but I think let's not let them drop off the table before we leave Oklahoma. And lastly, how can activities and opportunities offered by organizations such as funding agencies and societies be leveraged to inspire larger numbers of socially disadvantaged students? After we send students, at some stage we need those students to go back into their communities or back into classrooms, maybe to give a talk or some type of outreach to show, hey, I went to that over there. I've come back. It's okay. Because the best ambassador is someone who's been there, who has that shared relationship with the people in the cohort and can tell that those individuals, it's all right. It's not the same as coming from Professor Flores. It's like, oh, he's a professor. But if the student comes back and says, pero la verdad, todo fue bien, che. La comida bueno. It's different. There's a way you can connect. So, actually, we have 7 minutes and 30 seconds, so I'm going to give you guys back 2 minutes and 30 seconds so we can have a discussion about this at the end of the last talk. Thank you.